Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast, Perfectly
Imperfect.
I'm Jan.
I'm Mia.
So today we're going to talk about families.
Our kiddos.
Yeah, our children, my grandson, and ancestral patterns that you learn throughout your life from you being a child. And some are great, but some are not great.
No.
And learning to break them patterns can be hard because sometimes you can't even recognise them.
No.
So I have a daughter who is 26, Victoria, and she has a little boy, Oliver, who is autistic, but an absolute bundle of joy and lights all my life up. And I also have a son who is 17, Leo, and he still lives with me. And he is a lovely, lovely human being.
I have 3, so I have Jake, Max, and Millie. My oldest is 17, Max is 14, and Millie is 13. I've done it all for them, so without them, I don't know where I would be, but I was a teenage pregnancy, so I had Jake when I was very young, and I just vowed from that day onward that I wasn't going to live or have the system dictate what our lives would be like. So I fought really, really, really hard. I've worked really hard, blood, sweat, and tears, as you would say. But we're like our perfect little family. But to have a perfect little family, I had to get rid of a lot of people who were so dangerous and toxic for us. So I'm grafted.
But when you're in that, sometimes you don't recognise it, do you?
Do you know, I didn't recognise it, and I didn't know anything was up until I had my own. And then it was when I had my own, I was like, I think that's actually what's quite painful about your childhood is that when you do have your own, you reflect back to what it was like when you were a child, and you're like, that's not normal. That's not right. That's not how I would treat my children. That's not...
I mean, let's face it, no one has got the perfect normal family.
No.
Nobody. But it's not until you get older and you're bringing your children up and you're saying things and you're doing things that you think, oh, wait. Because we've spoke about this before, the big mum guilt. Am I working too much? Am I working too hard? Have I gave them enough? Am I disciplined enough? My daughter and my son's childhood were very different. With my daughter, I was so strict, She was wild.
Yeah.
She very much like me when I was younger. My son, I would say when we were out, do you want to have a little taste of a bit of cider? And he'd be like, no. So different.
They're both, Jake and Leo are still both like that. Yeah. They're the most sensible things I've ever seen.
And it's so strange because our society nowadays is so different, But, different boundaries for different people. But inevitably, we're navigating a world that is ran on social media and stigmas like ADHD, dyslexia, autism are not a disability nowadays, but growing up when I was a child was a taboo.
The perceptions of all of these have changed a lot. I think there is still a lot of negativity and connotations to it, and our system doesn't provide the basic needs for any of these. But I think some of it is changing for the better. I mean, I've been dyslexic my whole life, and my kids have too, but I've always kind of used it more as my superpower than anything else.
And that's a really
and I brought my kids up that way too. I'm the one going into schools telling them how to treat my children, what to do, and if they're not doing it, then they're not going to school. So I'm quite strict about how I want my children to grow up.
That boundary, haven't you? It's like if I feel like I've watched you and quite often admired the fact where you've thought, if I feel like you're not giving my children the education or the mental or emotional support that they need, then they're better off in the house with me.
Exactly.
And you strongly believe in that.
I've always stuck to that, and I think homework's shite. I don't think any child in the world should be doing homework. A lot of the skills that we don't get anymore are being forgot about, and to be honest, those are the skills that people like Leo and a lot of I think more so particularly for boys than for girls, but they're being like taken away. I mean, the idea of having your child stuck in a seat for 6 hours a day is insane to me. I certainly know my middle son really, really struggled with that, and then it ended up impacting his mental health. And I just refuse to let that happen, no matter what society tells me I should be doing with my children. So I think there has to be a certain level of confidence in parenting, or deciding to do something different or go against the typical grain. But I generally find it that people just... Nobody's good at saying no about anything. Like, they just assume at face value that what everyone else is doing is then okay for you and your family, and that's not always true.
I know.
And complete opposites of Millie. Millie loves school. She does her homework. I never have, and I fully support that. I fully support anything that is healthy or good for my children. But if it's not healthy for my children, it can get to fuck. I'm not doing it.
I mean, that's the thing as well, like, I left school when I was 14. I never took an exam. I've had numerous successful businesses. Managed to keep jobs, and so that isn't everything. But I recognised last year Leo was taking exams, and I was putting pressure on him to study, and his mental health took such a dip last year around exam time. So this year I consciously made a decision that I would encourage him to study, but I wasn't putting that pressure, because his mental health started dipping again, and it was the pressure of, you need to pass these exams.
For what?
And let me tell you, I know some people that
I left school at 15. I didn't get anything other than I think I got an A in R. That was the only thing I went. And then I went off to Germany, and I lived a whole kind of life, and I was feral. And do you know how many life lessons I learned in those years? And I'm like sometimes I laugh at it, like, I'm an academic person, but I didn't go back to academia until like way later on in life. Whereas all my friends who went off to like uni or managed to do all of that way back in the day, they all hate their jobs. They all have changed their jobs. How are you supposed to make the rest of your life decisions at the ages that they're not? They're not. We don't want them to.
And sometimes it isn't about exams. I know some really, really, really clever people that passed all their exams and are unemployed or totally burnt out. So a few months ago, I had a realisation. I had backed myself into a corner, and I was living the rat race. I was working 60 hours a week, 2 jobs, and it was absolutely killing my soul. Now, I know why I done that. There was a reason why I done it, and it was to get to buy my home. And
you didn't have a choice. That's and that comes down to a lot of like systematic issues versus men and women, or especially when divorces happen and so on and so forth. It usually tends to be that the men end up doing pretty better in the divorces than the women. And that's, I mean, I don't know anyone that's been different. So, but it's not right. Like, us burning ourselves out and working the way we have worked ourselves is absolutely crazy, and not something that we would want for our children. But yet we've had no choice. No choice in the matter.
So a month ago I handed my notice in my job. Now that's a paid job that pays my bills. But I looked at my children and thought, how can I tell them to live their most authentic, best life when I'm not doing it? So I mean,
you're teaching them to take a risk, and it's the risk takers that generally.
I'm teaching them to take a risk, but I'm also teaching them to believe in themselves. Like, I kind of thought to myself, if I can't make a go of my own business myself and have a thriving business, nobody can. And sometimes you just have
and you're showing them the skills to have all of those things.
Definitely. With dyslexia and all these kind of things, although it's hard for children to navigate, it's more acceptable now, isn't it?
I think so.
I
think like, I see my children all the time. Millie walks in and she's like, my friends just said they're gay, or my friend's wearing a skirt, or my friend's like on the spectrum, or this or that, or they have this. Like, she just talks about it so openly and also with so much love and care. And I love that. It's not like what it was like when we went to school, where being gay was like horrific. Do you know what I mean?
Children are compassionate now.
I think I mean, obviously it's not everywhere. And I think there's always work to be done on all of these things. But I think the world does feel like it's changed a lot in those areas. What I do think that hasn't changed so much is that a lot of our systems are not built for the rapidly growing change that children are demanding, and like the acceptance and tolerance and kindness towards each other. But we're living in an extremely dark world. You know what I mean? The world can be extremely cruel. We see what's happening in other countries, and our children are all they know about it. They're all geared up. They have opinions on it. And very different from when we were young. We weren't allowed to have so many opinions at such a young age.
Well, gay people were taboo when I was young. And also, you know, going back to my childhood, when I was first told, you know, you've got ADHD or we think you've got it, my mum said, come here, do not tell anybody that you've got that. Nobody. And I'm like, oh, all right. Like it was leprosy, you know. And she said to the school, I do not want to address this. So that carried on. The pattern carried on through my life, you know, to the point where I did not tell
anyone.
I didn't even admit it to myself, you know. It was like, oh yeah, that's a hormone imbalance. I kind of said that to myself. I've got a hormone imbalance. Yeah. You know, nowadays, I mean, if my child had something that was making them struggle, I would be, right, what can I do? You know, obviously I would go the holistic route. Yeah. You know, Leo was flying to Amsterdam last week and I said, here's a rose quartz, keep it in your back pocket. You know, and he's just like, Mum. And I'm like, and then he had his exam and I was like, here's a golden healer, take that, it'll help you. And he's like, Mum. But, you know, if a small thing like that you can give to your child to make life just that little bit
easier,
it's like the placebo effect. He's got this golden healer in his back pocket that is going to get him past that exam. You know, then it costs nothing. So yeah, where you're allowed to do things like that now. Years ago it was like, she's so different.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's about not care. I think it takes a long time to just not care about what people are thinking of you and you just do you. And generally the people that have something to say are usually the ones that are like, they actually want to try it too. Or do you know what I mean?
I think also what's harder for the younger generation, children, adolescents now is social media. You know, I never had any social media. And let me tell you, I have just been on a social media break for 2.5 years. Yeah. And I just went back to launch a new part of my business. And it's overwhelming.
I know.
It really, really is.
You know, I did take a break from social media when I was having my little breakdown because I did realise in that situation it wasn't very good for me. But I've never, for my social media, I post a hell of a lot. But, and my friends are always like, how do you manage to keep on, like, social media? But I was like, because do you know what? I'm a friggin' taxi driver to 3 teenagers and I get bored in the car.
Yeah.
So for me, I've worked out how to make, like, Instagram work for me. I'm a very visual person. Yeah. So, like, I love pictures. Like, it makes me happy, pictures and art and, you know, all that kind of thing. And loads of my following and things that I've done have all been, I need social media for the Cube and all my different businesses, I guess, as well. But I'm very good at not letting it, I'm not a sit and scroller. Yeah. I go on it, I do my business, I post it, and then I leave. Yeah. I don't get caught up.
For children. I mean, I'm
for
lucky.
Children, 100%. I'm lucky as well because my kids, maybe because they don't see me sitting there scrolling all the time, and I only do it when I'm in the car picking up. Yeah. But my kids are not super into social media and haven't asked for
Leo
it. Leo
has got no social media. He never has.
You hear horrific things though. Yeah. The conversation always has to be open.
Yeah. When Victoria was younger, there was social media, and it was that
was in its infancy, when it was becoming
and
really
it was terrible.
Remember Bebo?
Yeah, and there was a thing called Ask FM, where people could write anonymously. And say, you didn't know if it was your best friend, your boyfriend, or your arch enemy. They could say anything
they wanted.
And it was a platform for abuse. And I feel like sometimes social media can be like that.
Yeah, because we're all sitting there constantly comparing ourselves to other people's lives.
I actually, when I was off social media, I just lived my life. And now, answering messages I've hired someone to do my social media for my business, but thinking of content to send her, it's so consuming. It actually brings a bit of little...
It's a whole job in itself.
Yeah, it is. It really, really is. So, but it is. There's influencers out there that look perfect, should be perfect. And let's face it, we're not. We're perfectly imperfect.
It's exhausting being perfect. I think you just let it all out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the people that are going to want to watch or be in your content or whatever, they're the ones that are interested in you.
Yeah.
Like,
and sometimes there is...
I think the more authentic you are goes a long way, you know?
Sometimes there is content that you read and you think, oh, that was really interesting. But the thing with the web and the thing with social media is you really don't know what's true and what's not. You can have someone, you know, when I was going through my marriage breakup, I would be posting pictures on Instagram and I looked the fittest, healthiest person that I'd been, and I was getting loads of likes and and I was an emotional mess, you know. So nothing's real on social media. So children and young adults have got that to deal with, where you've got to look a certain way or you've got to feel way lucky, because we don't, our children don't take part in that. But kids have got it tough now. Yeah. Haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they probably have it tough, but I mean, I feel like everyone has it tough. Like, I think we did in our generations too, but I think it's understanding, you know, the generations and what's being demanded of children and how you bring them up.
And I think for us, you know, as women, that old feminine and masculine come in play for us because we're parents. But for children, it's actually, or young adults, it's very, very, very acceptable to be feminine when you're masculine, and vice versa, you know.
Which, I mean, I would say we struggle with that a lot.
Well, we've had to.
Yeah.
You know, like, wouldn't it be great to just float around the world being in your full feminine?
Yeah.
But sometimes life pushes you into a position where you have to be in your masculine.
I have been probably most of my life, I would say.
I haven't, but I have lately. You know, I mean, the things I've done lately, I have built seating areas, fixed washing machines. You know, like just a few weeks ago, a few months ago, I got a guy out to fix my washing machine. He charged us £100, and I watched him like a hawk.
Yeah.
When he was doing it. So last week it broke, and I was just like, right.
I know.
And I fixed it myself. You know.
My best moment was one of our other mutual friends. They were going through a divorce and they moved into a flat. It was like, it's one story up, and she asked me to come over because we needed to go out, like, help her get some things for the flat and that. And then the Curry's delivery driver rocked up with a fridge freezer, but the American fridge freezer, right? And she was like, oh, this will only take 2 seconds. The guys are going to bring it upstairs and we'll plug it in and blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. And then the guys came in and they were like, we're not taking that up those stairs. And she was like, but that's what I paid for. That's what I paid for. And they were just like, nah, we're not taking it upstairs. I've got a bad back. They never told us it was up 2 floors of stairs. And I was like, for God's sake. I was like, well, then I'm just going to have to lift it up those stairs. And the man turned around to me and was like, love, you'll not be able to do that. You'll need to get a man to do that. Worst thing to ever say to me.
You had that on your back.
Worst thing to ever say to me. And I was like, well, no, I'll get that up the stairs. And I was just like in a raging mood. I think I was probably on, sorry men, I know some of you are nice out there, but like I was on a man-hater mission at that time. Yeah. And I swear to God, I hiked that American fridge freezer up those 2 flights of stairs. I mean, I'm only like 5'2". I'm very small. So it was like underneath me, and then our friend was at the top, and we were like trying to get it up the stairs. I mean, at one point I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die under an American fridge freezer. And then we get to the top of the stairs to get it through the door, and a neighbor comes along and obviously sees us struggling. Well, we were struggling. I'm tiny, but we've got it all the way up the stairs and through the door. And the guy goes, oh yeah, you women, all you're good at doing is pushing. Oh. And I swear to God, I was just like, what is it with like these comments? Like, how about you just help put it in? Yeah. You know, like why be a knob?
But that's good for your children to see as well. Resilience. Yeah. You know, if I could give my children anything, I used to say confidence, but actually they don't need confidence.
Resilience.
Resilience to
goes a long way.
ride the waves of life and not, let me tell you, there's been times where I could quite happily hibernate, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell this.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys, for this episode. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.